What if the reason most middle-class people never build real wealth isn't low income? What if it's something far less obvious, something that looks completely normal from the outside? Because if you look closely, many people are doing everything right. They went to college, they got a stable job, they earn a decent salary, and yet 10, 15, even 20 years later, they're still financially stuck. Not broke, but not truly wealthy either, just maintaining. Take a typical example in the United States or Europe. A 30-year-old professional earning around $70,000 a year. After taxes, that's roughly $4,200 per month. Now subtract the basics. Rent or mortgage, $1,600. Car payment and insurance, $600. Groceries, $400. Utilities and subscriptions, $300. Student loans, $400. Credit card payments, $300. What's left? About $600. And from that comes dining out, travel, occasional shopping, emergencies. By the end of the month, there's little to nothing left to invest. On paper, this looks like a stable, respectable life, but financially, it's fragile. The hidden issue isn't overspending, it's something more subtle. Most middle-class people optimize for monthly comfort instead of long-term ownership. They focus on what they can afford this month, not what they can truly own over time. A car isn't evaluated as a $30,000 purchase, it's seen as $600 a month. An apartment isn't $1,600 forever, it's just manageable rent. Everything becomes a monthly decision, and that's where the trap begins. Let's look at just one piece, that $600 monthly car payment. Over 5 years, that's $36,000. But it doesn't stop there. Most people upgrade, again, another $600 per month for another 5 years. Now it's over $70,000 spent on cars in a decade. And at the end of it, no asset, just a depreciated vehicle or another loan. Now imagine that same $600 invested monthly with a modest 7% return. After 10 years, that's around $103,000. After 20 years, over $300,000. Same income, same cash flow, just a different direction. So why does this happen? Because monthly thinking feels safe. It reduces stress. It makes decisions easier. Can I afford this per month? Is a comforting question. It avoids the bigger, more uncomfortable question. Is this building my future or quietly delaying it? There's also social pressure. In middle-class environments, lifestyle becomes a signal of stability. A reliable car, a clean apartment, vacations once or twice a year. Nothing extreme, just enough to feel on track. But this normal lifestyle is often financed in a way that prevents wealth from forming, not because people are careless, but because the system rewards consumption that looks responsible. The real cost shows up slowly. 5 years pass, income increases, but so do expenses. A slightly better apartment, a newer car, higher lifestyle expectations. Savings don't scale at the same rate. 10 years pass, net worth remains low, despite high earnings over time. And eventually, people realize something uncomfortable. They've been working consistently, but not actually moving forward. Financially intelligent people don't necessarily earn more, but they think differently. They don't ask, can I afford this monthly? They ask, what is this costing me in future ownership? They see every recurring expense as a long-term trade, not just money, but time, flexibility, and options. They're not avoiding spending, they're just more selective about what they commit to repeatedly, because they understand something simple. Wealth isn't built from big decisions, it's built from small, repeated directions. The middle class doesn't fail because of lack of effort. It doesn't fail because of lack of income. It struggles because of a quiet habit of turning every financial decision into a monthly question. And over time, those monthly decisions shape an entire financial life. Not dramatically, but consistently. If there's one thing worth paying attention to, it's not how much you earn. It's how often your money moves toward ownership instead of temporary comfort.
There's a moment most people never notice. It doesn't feel important. It doesn't feel like a financial decision, but it quietly shapes their entire future. It happens when income increases. Because most middle-class people don't stay stuck at one salary. They grow. Promotions happen, raises come in, opportunities improve, and yet wealth still doesn't follow. Why? Let's go back to our earlier example. A professional earning $70,000 per year. After a few years, they move up to $90,000. That's a meaningful increase. After tax, maybe an extra $1,000 to $1,200 per month. Now, logically, this should accelerate wealth building. But in reality, something else happens. The apartment gets upgraded from $1,600 to $2,100. The car gets replaced from $600 to $850. Lifestyle improves slightly across the board. Better furniture, more travel, nicer restaurants. Nothing extreme, just an upgrade that feels deserved. And within months, that extra income disappears. Scene 2. The invisible reset. This is the hidden pattern. Every time income rises, expenses rise just enough to reset progress back to zero. Not intentionally, not irresponsibly, just automatically. This is why many people feel like they're running on a treadmill, working harder, earning more, but staying in the same place financially, because the system they're following doesn't create surplus, it absorbs it. Scene 3. The math no one thinks about. Let's isolate that raise, an extra $1,000 per month. If preserved and invested at a 7% return, after 10 years, about $173,000. After 20 years, over $520,000. But if that same $1,000 is absorbed into lifestyle, the long-term result is zero. Same effort, same career growth, completely different outcome. This is the part most people never calculate. Because lifestyle upgrades feel small in the moment, but mathematically they're massive. Scene 5. The comfort trap. So why do people do this? Because humans adapt quickly. What once felt like a luxury becomes normal. And once something feels normal, it's very difficult to reverse. A slightly nicer home doesn't feel like an upgrade anymore. It feels like a baseline. A better car doesn't feel optional, it feels necessary. This is called lifestyle anchoring, and it quietly locks future income into fixed obligations. Scene 6. Social reinforcement. There's another layer, your environment. If your peers are upgrading, you will too, not out of competition, but out of alignment. No one explicitly says spend more, but the standard shifts. What's considered reasonable changes, and over time, financial decisions become less about logic and more about fitting into a moving baseline. Scene 7. Long-term drift. Now extend this pattern over 20 years. Income increases multiple times. Each time, lifestyle expands slightly. At no point does it feel excessive, but at the end of 2 decades, there's no significant asset base, no meaningful investment portfolio, no real financial independence, just a well-maintained lifestyle supported by continuous income. Scene 8. A different way of thinking. Financially aware individuals don't avoid raises being spent. They just interrupt the automatic upgrade cycle. When income increases, they don't immediately adjust their lifestyle. They let the gap exist, even for a year. sometimes longer, because that gap is where wealth forms. It's not about extreme frugality, it's about delaying comfort just long enough for ownership to catch up. Scene 9. Subtle behavioral shift. Instead of asking, "What can I upgrade now?" they ask, "What can I lock in permanently?" Because once an investment is made, it starts working independently of effort, unlike lifestyle, which always needs to be maintained. Conclusion. Calm. Grounded. The middle-class path isn't broken, it's just quietly misaligned. Income grows, effort increases, but financial structure stays the same, and over time, that structure determines everything. Not dramatically, but predictably. The difference between staying stable and becoming truly independent often comes down to what happens after things start going well.
There's one more layer to this, and it's probably the most uncomfortable one, because it doesn't show up in your bank account, it shows up in your decisions. Most people assume wealth is about how much you earn or how much you save, but in reality, it's about what you avoid noticing. Let's say someone has been working for 12 to 15 years. Their income has grown steadily. They've upgraded their lifestyle responsibly. They've avoided major financial mistakes. From the outside, everything looks stable. But when they check their net worth, it doesn't match the effort. Maybe some savings, maybe a retirement account, but nothing that creates real freedom. This creates a quiet confusion. I've done everything right, so why am I not ahead? Because the system most middle-class people follow is designed for stability, not wealth. It prioritizes predictable payments, manageable monthly expenses, consistent consumption, not asset accumulation. You're encouraged to finance a car instead of owning it outright, take a long mortgage instead of minimizing interest, carry manageable debt instead of eliminating it quickly. None of this feels risky. In fact, it feels responsible. But over time, it delays ownership. Let's simplify this. Imagine two people earning the same income. Person A focuses on keeping everything comfortable monthly. Person B focuses on reducing long-term obligations early. For the first 5 to 7 years, Person A lives better. Nicer apartment, better car, less restriction. Person B feels slower, more intentional, more limited. But around year 10, something shifts. Person B has fewer payments, more free cash flow, more flexibility. And now, their money starts compounding faster, while Person A is still maintaining. Let's say Person A keeps $800 in monthly obligations that never disappear. Car payments replaced with new ones, upgraded rent or mortgage, ongoing financing. That's $9,600 per year indefinitely. Over 20 years, that's nearly $200,000 spent just to maintain a lifestyle. Now imagine redirecting that same $800 into investments after obligations are reduced. At 7% return over 20 years, that alone becomes roughly $420,000. Same income, same starting point, different structure. So why doesn't everyone shift? Because reducing obligations early feels like falling behind. It feels like saying no while others are saying yes. It feels restrictive, even if it's temporary. And most people optimize for how life feels now, not how it unfolds later. There's also uncertainty. Ownership requires patience, and patience doesn't provide immediate feedback. Monthly spending does. You see it, you feel it, you justify it. Here's the deeper trade most people never calculate. Every fixed monthly expense is a claim on your future time, not just your money. If you need $4,000 per month to maintain your life, then your time is permanently tied to earning at least that much. But if your obligations drop to $2,500, you've just bought flexibility. Not luxury, not status, but control. This is where the difference becomes clear. Middle-class financial life often prioritizes visible stability. Everything looks in order, bills are paid, lifestyle is consistent, but real wealth is usually invisible. It shows up as low fixed expenses, high optionality, assets quietly growing in the background. It doesn't always look impressive, at least not immediately. Financially aware people don't reject the middle-class path, they just modify it slightly. They still earn, they still spend, they still enjoy life, but they pay attention to one thing others ignore. How long will this decision follow me? Because some expenses last a moment, others stay for years, and those are the ones that shape everything. Most people don't fail financially. They simply follow a system that prioritizes comfort, predictability, and social normalcy. And over time, that system produces exactly what it's designed to produce: a stable life that depends on continuous income. Not because people lack discipline, but because the structure they follow never fully transitions from earning to owning. And that transition is where real wealth begins.